Well, howdy, folks. Thank you for joining me for the live stream today. I'm going to give it a little time here in case somebody else wants to join us. I'm going to today give you an update, a quick update on what's going on in the ranges, and then also, of course, give you an update about the Gothic Fire here in the ranges. And then, since we didn't really get a chance to get into questions in that podcast the other day, I'm going to take your questions and hopefully be able to answer as many of them as I can. So, okay, looks like we already have 11 people in here. I'm going to give it a few minutes, a minute or two, for people to join in. Dragon Rose is, of course, standing by again to moderate the chat if needed. And thank you, Dragon Rose, for that. And hi, Gary, one of our regulars. I'm glad to see you again. And Bush Green and Terry. Yeah, I was wondering what you mean by hemp, York. Okay, hello, York. That's better. Give it a minute or two for the people to trickle in. And then we're going to talk just very briefly about what's going on in the ranges, a couple of updates, and then, of course, the big subject, the fire in the ranges, the Gothic Fire. Where's Michael? Michael is still at home in Poland. He will be, I hope I'm not saying too much, he will be here soon. And there will be more adventures. That's all I can say about that. And of course, he probably is sound asleep. I don't know what time it is in Poland right now, but it's probably in the middle of the night over there. So he's probably sound asleep. All right. Well, let's jump right in. Nauheim, wie geht es dir? Gut, wie geht's selbst? Grüße in die alte Heimat. Und Philipp, Gute aus Hessen, ja. Grüße zurück aus Rachel, Nevada. All right, so let's give me some time to get into the fire, and then after that we're going to do questions. If you do have questions in the meantime, just post them in all caps, please, so that they catch my attention here. Quick update on a couple of other subjects. I was expecting red flag to start today. It looks like it's not starting till probably next Monday. It's always Nell hasn't published the dates in years now. I'm always taking my best guess as to what the dates are, and sometimes I'm a week off. And it looks like in this case I was a week off, and it's going to start next Monday. It's probably going to be a 2-week red flag, and then the third week is going to be that bamboo eagle exercise that mostly takes place in California and the Pacific ranges and so forth. So my best guess would be that beginning next Monday, today in a week, for 2 weeks, we're going to have red flag here in the area out of Rachel, out of Nellis. And then the last week is going to be bamboo eagle, the third week. Also, TTR is still shut down for runway work. I can see the air frequencies and also the some of the ground frequencies. There is not much going on. It's pretty much shut down with some security and things going on, but of course the construction going on, and hopefully that will be done soon. And it's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen at TTR then. They're completely redoing the runway. That's a big thing, I guess. From what I hear, they tried to patch it up before, and that didn't really work all that well. So they have decided to tear it all apart and redo it from scratch. So we'll see how that goes. And I will certainly update you all when TTR reopens, and we're going to keep an eye on what cool projects are going to move in there. Maybe something to do with the F-47, maybe testing of the B-21, the F-117s, the stealth fighters that were flying out of TTR are currently flying out of Area 51. So nothing going on at TTR at the moment. And of course, let's get into the big subject here that has been on everybody's mind here in Rachel for the last 10 days or so, the Gothic Fire. The fire inside the ranges, about 15 miles. It started on July 4th, about 15 miles northwest of Area 51. It started as a relatively small fire, and I'm going to show you in a minute where it started and how the fire progressed. The fire there's been really no attempts by security or anyone inside any agency inside the ranges to put out the fire. BLM has been denied access to the ranges, so they are unable to fight the fire. There's no, I'm tracking air traffic and I'm tracking flights in the ranges. There's absolutely nothing going on in terms of firefighting. And it's getting worse and worse here in Rachel. I'm going to show you on Google Earth how it affects us and how it all ties together. So let me share my screen here. And let's see. Let's try that. So here's a Google Earth view of our area. I hope you can all see my cursor. This is Rachel up here, of course, the highway. And this red line is the border of the restricted area on the ground. And then these green lines are the individual ranges. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. And what I did here is I have overlaid an image that was posted online on one of the fire tracking websites. And I've overlaid that over Google Earth so you can see the area that is affected by the fire. Area 51 is down here, Broom Lake. They have marked here as KXTA. That's kind of the unofficial moniker that is used for Area 51 in aviation traffic. About 15 miles northwest of Area 51 is the Gothic Canyon, and that is the canyon that gave the fire its name. It apparently started right here. Zoom in. I think this is this area down here. That's the Gothic Canyon, and it started on a ridgeline near Gothic Canyon, about 15 miles northwest of Area 51, and maybe, I don't know, 25, 30 miles southwest of Rachel. We saw a little bit of smoke first, and as you can see right here, this red area, as you might imagine, is the area affected by the fire. When it first started, this was affected by the fire, and it would have been very, very easy to just do some firefighting, cut down some trees, clear an area here, just keep the fire from spreading, and it would have been contained to this little area here. There would have been a little bit of smoke, and for the most part, life would have been good for us in Rachel. But none of that happened. They didn't make any attempts to put out the fire, and the prevailing winds out of the southwest blew the fire further and further north and northeast along this ridge line. This is a mountain range. We turn off the overlay for a second. You can see that mountain range here with Wheelbarrow Peak and then Belted Peak in the north. So unfortunately, the fire was allowed to make its way all the way along the mountain range. Um, this is a forested area, so the fire had plenty of fuel to burn. I'm a little surprised about this extension here. It looks like it actually did manage to grow into the valley for quite a bit. And there's really very sparse vegetation, just like around Rachel. It's basically just some sage, and apparently the fire was strong enough to make its way down into the valley from the mountain range, but the most part made its way heading northeast along this ridge line up to Wheelbarrow Peak. And this is actually an image. This is the last image that was published. That was published, I think, 2 or 3 days ago. So by now it probably has expanded a little more. When this photo or this image was published, the fire had a size of 35,000 acres. Now, 35,000 acres, it's a number. To put that in perspective, 35,000 acres is more than 1/3 of the size of the city of Las Vegas. So this is more than 1/3 of the size of Las Vegas burning, just to put that in perspective. By now, it has reached a size of 36,500 acres. That is a number that was published yesterday. I don't know what the number is today. It's progressing pretty rapidly, fueled by high winds and very dry conditions. We have had a very dry year so far. I don't think I've ever seen it as dry as this year around here. So everything is bone dry, and all it takes is a spark and it goes up in flames. The fire is still 0% contained, not surprisingly, because nobody's making any efforts to put it out. So it's just burning. And in another fire tracking website, you can actually see where there's small spots north of here that have already caught on fire, and those fires will probably grow in size and finally probably set this whole range on fire. Belted range, as far as I know, there's a repeater or a receiver for the red flag triangulation, for the red flag telemetry up here. I don't know if they're going to try to save it. It may just not be savable at this point. The fire is just completely out of control. As far as I know, that is the only structure that is in danger of burning up. But you can see how the fire has really made its way towards Rachel. And at this point, it's only about 20 miles away from us. The smoke here in Rachel is increasingly bad. The air quality is really bad. One day we actually had ashes rain down on Rachel. And we're trying to stay inside as much as we can. Some locals, some of my neighbors have called me because I'm kind of keeping track of things, and called me and, should we be concerned? Should we worry about it? We don't know what is burning in this area. This is inside the test ranges. Down here is the test site where they had all kinds of nuclear blasts in the 1950s and 1960s. So most likely these hills have some radiation contamination. There's also concern about unexploded ordnance in this area. This is an active bombing range. And last but not least, there's concern about other toxins in that area. Area 12 of the Nevada test site, which is down in this area, was used for research into chemical and biological warfare, basically to counter if somebody attacks us with biological weapons, how do we counter that? So there's who knows what kind of stuff they've been playing with down here. And now this area is on fire and the fumes are blowing right over Rachel. Yeah, we are concerned to some degree. There's a radiation monitoring station here in Rachel as part of the weather station. And so far, it has spiked once to over 3 times the background radiation, and then within an hour went right back to normal. But for the most part, it's showing normal values. I don't know if there's any. I'm not sure if there's uh, any monitoring stations for air quality here. It's bad, and I'll show you in a minute how bad it is. It's actually I just before I went live, I looked out my window. I can barely see this mountain range that is on fire because of all the smoke. Normally, I have a very clear view of this mountain range. It's right behind this chalk mountain here. The back gate is over here. And I'm looking right past the back gate at this mountain range. Normally, it's very clearly visible. It's about 20 miles away. Today, I can barely see it. I'll show you. Let me show you a couple of photos and video that I took a couple of days ago. Let's see, where are we? Let's try this one. No. Let's try this again. It won't let me do it. I don't know why it won't let me do it. Let's try something else here. I don't know which screen that is. Let's try this one. Yep, that looks good. Well, finally, sorry about that, folks. So this is what it looked like 4 days ago. You can see I'm looking at the mountain range. This is the side of Chalk Mountain here. The back gate would be on this side over here. And I'm looking at this mountain range. The air is still pretty good. You can see isolated spots burning. Every once in a while, there is a plume of dark colored smoke. I don't know exactly why that happens. We've been noticing that over the last few days. And of course, now it is so foggy that we can't even really see anything anymore. So here's another close-up shot where you can see the kind of the ridge line on fire and the back side of that ridge on fire. I've shared these photos and videos with Channel 8 in Las Vegas. I think, I'm not 100% positive, I think George Knapp has aired some of this footage. Here's a video that I took where you can actually almost see the flame. You can see the flames if you look very closely. I don't know if you can see it in the stream. I can see it on my monitor here. I can see the flames and the black smoke coming out of it. Steam coming up out of the peak here. And again, this is 4 days ago. This was on Thursday, the 10th. Let's do this one. This is a little closer view, and you can see that black smoke coming out of the side of the mountain. This was, as we thought back then, as bad as it's going to get. Well, we thought wrong. The next day, the valley was completely covered in smoke. And then let me show you what happened. This is, I think, from yesterday, from the 13th. You can see the whole side of the mountain facing Rachel is now on fire, and the fire has actually made its way down into the valley. I'll show you, I'll go back to Google Earth here in a minute and show you where the road from the back gate to Area 51 is. The fire is actually very close to that road now. This is Chalk Mountain is over here, so these are kind of the foothills of Chalk Mountain, and the back gate would be over on this, on this side. So clearly a progression of the fire closer to Rachel, closer into the valley. Here's another shot, a little more enhanced, and you can really see the smoke coming out of the side of the mountain. The wind out of the southwest blows all that stuff right towards Rachel. And you can imagine the air quality here in the valley. Let me see, here's a video that I took where you can see this black smoke, black smoke coming out over here, and white smoke, smoldering stuff in the valley, and it's pretty ugly. Here's another close-up. There's a little plume of smoke over here, and then the whole side's on fire, and another big plume of smoke here. So it's bad. And this was yesterday, yesterday morning actually. For some reason, the smoke is always lighter in the mornings to where I can actually get some video of the hillside, and then in the afternoon it is so the smoke is so thick in the valley that I can barely see the hillside. So let's go back to Google Earth. So this is right about the area right here. This is the area that we just looked at. We were looking past Chalk Mountain over here, over the foothills from Rachel, and looking right at this area. I can't really see, because again, it is so smoky, I can't really see how far the fire has made its way to the Beltage peak. Hopefully tomorrow morning I'll be able to get a better idea of that. But it's coming closer. It's approaching the back gate of Area 51, and it's also getting closer to the road from the back gate into Area 51. Still, I don't really hear a lot of concern from security and from NTTR on the NTTR trunking system or on the NTS trunking system. There's just not, basically a few days ago, some security patrols reported the fire, and they were basically told, well, don't worry about it. It doesn't affect us. It'll burn itself out. Yeah, well, that's not going to happen anytime soon. It's got plenty of fire up here, and it will consume this entire ridge. So again, I wish I would have taken a photo just before I went online to show you what the valley looks like now. Basically, you'll be looking at a wall of smoke, and that's all you see. So much for the fire. And here's Rachel. It's not going to, we are hoping that it will not make its way across this valley with very little population. So there's really not much concern in Rachel about the fire reaching us, but there is a lot of concern from locals about toxins, about possibly radioactive contamination in the smoke, who knows what. So, we'll see how that affects all of us. Well, so much for the fire, and I didn't really get a chance. I was so busy explaining things that I really didn't get a chance to look at the live stream. So go ahead and post your questions. I think it looks like Linda already addressed some of your questions. Go ahead and fire away about the fire. Well, odd choice of words, fire away. Post your questions about the fire or anything else related to Area 51, what's on your mind. And I'll try my best to answer them. Gary, do you think when the Secretary of Defense and the Joint Chief went to Area 51, they were there to see a fully assembled, ready-to-fly F-47? That question ties in to a video that I published about the Secretary of Defense visiting Area 51 a few weeks ago. I pretty much proved that to be a fact. I'm not sure if I think the F-47. There's been two demonstrators already flying. One was the Boeing F-47, and the other one was the Lockheed demonstrator. I don't think it was that. I think that's already old news at Area 51. I think what they did was probably some kind of milestone to do with the AI that talks to, from the F-47 to the drones and makes that whole thing a network of systems. So I think it was some kind of milestone related to the AI linking of various systems. Michael Jenner, lightning, yes, that's the official story. They say it was lightning strike. The fire started on the 4th of July, but it was in the morning, it was in the evening, so I don't think it was fireworks. There was some lightning, there was some, we didn't really have thunderstorm here in Rachel, but there was some lightning in the area, so it could have been. Lightning fires are very common here, and normally they burn themselves out within, less than a mile perimeter because they run out of fuel. But this year it is so bone dry that everything just catches on fire very easily. So I at this point, I tend to believe the story about lightning. Juanito Hernandez, do you think all the new alien tourist traps are bad or good for Rachel? Well, I think they're good for tourism, and tourism is good for Rachel. So I think it's a good thing. I wouldn't call them tourist traps. I mean, people come out here; they are curious about the area, and I think it's great that we have some businesses here that cater to them. So we like tourists in this area. We just, when the Storm Area 51 event happened and we expected 3 million at the same time, that was too much. We don't want 3 million visitors at the same time because the area can't handle it. But yeah, we appreciate tourism. And in fact, I do tours for German tour groups that a friend of mine brings up here. And so yeah, totally. Tourism is good for this area. I wish the Alien Research Center in Heiko would be open a little more often. They are very unpredictable. But we have the little alien here, we have the gas station, the alien Kauphof here in Rachel, and we have the alien jerky place in Heiko at the Heiko Junction. So it's good for our county. We don't have a lot of industry in the county, so tourism is one of the big industries, one of the big money makers in the county. There was a video from Mark. There was a video from 2012 showing thick black smoke coming from the restricted area behind the camel boots. That was, I don't know about that. I took some pictures way back in 1999, I think, of a fire behind the guard shack of the camo dudes. It does happen, and in that case, I believe that it was actually a crash. I'm not familiar with that video, Mark. If you have a link, send me the link and I'll look at it. I'm not familiar with that video, but there have certainly been crashes inside the ranges. Thick black smoke would make me think more crash than brush fire, but I don't know. I'd have to look at it. Again, brush fires are common in this area, and we pretty much every year we see them, and never really paid much attention to them because they are very localized. There's not much vegetation here. They pretty much die off. I mean, I've actually seen camping at the power lines overlook lightning strike a bush, a Joshua tree. Joshua tree burst in flames and burned out, and that was the end of that. So, it's this is probably a combination of a number of circumstances: very dry year, very high winds, and absolutely no efforts to fight the fire in the beginning, and it was allowed to burn to a much bigger size. In that context, we also had a fire here a few days earlier I think it started on June 30th, near Mount Irish. We thought that was bad, and that looked pretty threatening. That we could see the flames of that fire and the glow. We could almost see the flames of that fire from Rachel. One night it looked spectacular. I mean, looking towards, if you know where the mine is on the backside of Timber Mountain, we were looking at the mine, and it was just the whole sky was red. To the point where at some point we didn't know how far it was. Nobody told us. There was no information anywhere. And at some point I called 911, basically the dispatch and POH. And the first guy that I talked to didn't even know that there was a fire. But I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that it was a miscommunication. There were crews on site, and the fire was put out. It reached about 6,300 acres. That fire was arson, and I understand that the sheriff's office has a pretty good idea who's responsible. That's all I'm saying on that. Did they give BLM access? Boogeyman ketchup, okay. No, they did not. The story is actually, this is hearsay. I have to paraphrase it with that. I heard that BLM requested access to assess the situation, and they were denied access to the ranges. And so I don't know what they would be able to do at this point. The fire has reached a size that is almost unmanageable at this point, but anything helps. And if they could only keep it from spreading, that would already be a benefit. But last I heard is that BLM was denied access. And I saw on one of the fire tracking websites this morning where it basically says they are content with trying to protect structures or areas of interest from the fire. There's no active firefighting efforts whatsoever. And again, at this point, I don't know what they will be able to do. Put those aliens to work, Steve King, put those aliens to work and put out the fire. Yeah, well, I don't know what those aliens are good for, but apparently they are not very good at firefighting. Who knows? Maybe they set that fire to create a diversion so they can escape. Who knows? So, Mark, the video is from Guinness 336 tile area 51 in Rachel, Nevada, trip around 6-minute mark. I'll look at that later. Get back to you. Shoot me an email with that so I can get back to you on that. I really can't do it right now, but I'll look at it, and maybe the next live stream I'll have an update on that. Joshua, did you touch on the rise in radioactivity? One of the forum posters nailed it. Yeah, I did. There was a spike in radioactivity in our Rachel environmental monitoring station. It was a brief spike for about an hour. Normally the background radiation here is 15 whatever millirams, microrams, or whatever the case may be. And it spiked to 57, which is more than 3 times the normal value. which I haven't seen in a long time. I can't see ever, but that is a spike that is certainly remarkable. But then it went right back to background radiation. So I don't know. Maybe who knows? I mean, I can only say that's what I see when I look at the data. I don't know if that's the real data. This day and age, you always got to be a little careful. Not that I want to start any conspiracy theories. So the fire shows clearly on firms. I'm not familiar with what firms is. Is that a camera? Tasca, is that a camera system that you're referring to, where the fire shows? There are some cameras in the mountain ranges that you can put up here for fire watch, and on some of them you can probably see the smoke, even though there's none very close to the fire. Terry Lauderdale, hey Terry. Are the radiation levels higher than normal, other than the third eye that grew on my forehead? I'm feeling fine. Yeah. Well, I hope you do. Like I said, there's not much radiation. There's background radiation reported by our monitoring station, except for one short spike. I choose to believe it, but again, there's no telling what other toxins may be in those ashes and in the smoke. And of course, all that stuff settles down on the ground here and gets into the ground. So over time, there's definitely a chance that it increases the background radiation in this area. Joshua, I meant that in relation to the fires. Not sure I understand that comment. Maybe you can clarify that again. Satellite system that monitors fire. Okay, so it's a satellite system. I'm not familiar with that. Is that, if you have a link, maybe you can post it here. We have, okay, that's the site that Linda just posted that we are using. It has several good resources with information about the fires. And Tasca, if you have a link, please go ahead and post that. I'd be curious about that site. I'm not familiar with it. Juanito, I love Rachel, always wanted to retire there, and I've been a big Art Bell fan. Not sure if he ever visited, but I bet he thought about the little alien. I'm pretty sure he was here at one point or another. I don't know that for a fact, but everybody has been at the little alien and in Rachel at one point or another. So I would assume he has. Relation, yeah, okay, got it. Jürgen, I hope that the fire has no effect on life in Rachel. Well, it does to some degree. We try to stay inside a little more than normal. Of course, people that work out at the farms, they don't really have that option. And like I said, a couple of my friends have asked me, do you think it's safe? Should we worry? And all I can say is I am not too worried. We're staying inside. As you can see, we're not running around with gas masks here, but it certainly does affect life here in Rachel to the point where everybody tries to stay inside. But then it's 102 degrees today, and I don't know what that comes out to in Celsius, but it's hot. So everybody tries to stay out of the heat anyway. Yeah, legendary spot, absolutely. So while we're waiting for more questions, let me share Google Earth real quick again. I promised you that I would tell you a little bit more about the range that it's burning in. And I neglected to do that earlier. So these green lines outline the various ranges that I used for aerial exercises inside the NTTR. This area is the 70s ranges. Down here is the 60s ranges. So there's like two different areas the NTTR that are used for exercises, sometimes simultaneously. Sometimes there's something going on down here in the 60s and something down here in the 70s. Groom Lake, Area 51, the box is right smack in the middle. As you can see, most of the fire is in range 74 alpha. That is one of the ranges used for bombing runs, for course, aerial exercises, dogfights inside the ranges. Sometimes you can see the jets. I mean, this area right here, I don't have that marked right now, but some of this area is the box around Area 51 that is total no-fly zone. But this range, yeah, the box would actually be this square right here. And this is the nearest range to Area 51 that is not used very heavily because it is so close to Area 51 to a no-fly zone during the exercises. But that is where most of this fire is located. It spills over a little bit over the mountain range into range 74 Bravo. And by the way, if you're curious and if you like to have this Google Earth overlay, the ranges, the overlay with the ranges and the perimeter of the base and all that good stuff, a lot more stuff is available on my Dreamland Resort website. If you go to the maps and GPS section, there's a lot of Google Earth overlays, and one of them is this overlay. So you can see ECEs, that's the electronic combat range, and so forth. Whoops. So you can download these Google Earth overlays on my Dreamland Resort website. And I just posted this overlay. I think I posted it in the discussion forum. So if you go into my discussion forum on dreamlandresort.com, you can find a couple of threads that deal with fire. And in one of those threads, I posted this overlay. So if you open that in Google Earth, it will be automatically aligned properly, and you can see what I'm showing here right now. You can see the fire on your own version of Google Earth. All right, so let's go back. I once applied to work. It offered me lodging and laid out the reality of desert nothingness, and I couldn't. How do you do it? You're 3 hours away from Vegas. Well, you know, the older I get, the more I appreciate the solitude here in Rachel, and being able to do my own thing, being able to do whatever I want on my property. Of course, I don't work or live at the Little Alien. That is something I could not handle. But you know, I have my property here in Rachel that I've developed over more than 20 years, and I enjoy the solitude. And I can say most of us here in Rachel, we are all, most of my friends and most everyone here in Rachel is retired. We are here because we like to be left alone. We like our solitude, and to some degree, I guess you could call us loners or whatever you want to call us. We like to be far away from everything. And of course, we still have our house in Las Vegas. So, you know, if we want to mingle, if we want to have city life, we just go to Vegas. And of course, also, I just did a video actually in German. I'm not sure if I'm going to translate it. It would be quite a bit of work to translate. But for my German fans, I just did a video that I'm going to premiere on Wednesday about Linda and I doing a trip to Tonopah to go shopping. And Tonopah is a little casino, so we spent a little money in the casino, and I documented the whole thing in a video. It's in German, so for my German viewers, I invite you to join us on Wednesday at noon our time, which is I think Wednesday night, 9 p.m. German time. So we go, you know, if we feel like it, we go somewhere. We go to Tonopah, we go to Pioche, and it's a beautiful area. I mean, we just like to go exploring. There's petroglyph sites here, and I don't think we are going to run out of things to do anytime soon. So you have to like the desert. As I've said many times, I fell in love with the desert when I first came here. So this is for me, the perfect environment to be. Other people come here and they say, well, there's nothing here. What do you do here? Well, it's not for everyone. So, yeah, we got strafed by Terry when you played the guitar for entertainment at the back gate, which, by the way, there's a video of that too in my channel. We did get strafed by an A10 at the back gate. That was pretty cool. That's also part of the video. We get that sometimes, and you know the A10s, they're always good for a show because they like to fly close to the terrain. They are not stealthy, so their stealth is basically terrain hugging and staying away from altitudes where the radar picks them up, and they're always good for a good show. Thanks for posting the address, Linda. I love the quiet there, so quiet. Yeah, and you know I've seen a lot of people that have worked at the little alien over the years that can't handle it over long periods of time. So their help tends to change pretty quickly. People come and go, and some people like it, they stay longer. Some people don't like it as much, and they don't stay as long. But you can't. You have to experience it, and you have to have a you know, either it's your thing or it isn't. Solitude aside from the occasional AFOSI encounters, yeah, well, there is that, Joshua. I don't want to get into that too much, but yeah, there is the FBI and the Air Force OSI encounters. That is all in the past, 2.5 years ago, and hopefully in another 2.5 years, I'll get my stuff back that they stole from me. So it's all good. I feel like no one is looking at TTR these days. Well, Joshua, TTR right now, the runway is being repaved, so it's completely shut down. I'm monitoring the air frequencies. There is nothing going on at TTR. I'm hoping that they will reopen next month, and there are people that do monitor TTR. So that's all I want to say about that right now. I don't want to give away too much, but there will be some attention on TTR when it reopens, because of course we are all curious what's going on there. You're right. Everybody comes to Rachel, all the aviation buffs and the UFO watchers, and everybody comes to Rachel and watches the sky. Not a lot of people go up to TTR. It is worth it, and certainly shouldn't be. It should be on everybody's radar also to check out TTR. Like I said, when they reopen, it'll be on some people's radar. That's all I'm saying. Dragon Rose, yes, I am on Facebook also. How about that? I don't really know what I'm doing on Facebook. I'm not very Facebook literate, but I try. Thanks for posting the link to the Facebook page. And folks, I do post updates on that Facebook page. So if you want to stay up to date on what's going on at Area 51, subscribe to that Facebook page or like it or whatever you have to do to get messages from it. And I do post everything that happens that is worthwhile posting, both in my discussion forum on my website and also on the Facebook page. Juanito again, has Jörg ever been to Pahrump? I'm from Ohio, and when I visited, the air was so dry, I swear I got a nosebleed just from the humidity shock. It's the same, the air is the same here. Yes, I have been to Pahrump, of course. It's just, in Vegas, we call it over the hump to Pahrump, because you go over the mountain range when you go to Pahrump. I've ridden my bike over there many times and been there many times, but it's no different than it is here in Rachel. I'm looking at my humidity monitor here on my desk. It just shows low. It doesn't even have a percentage that it can show. It is very, very dry, usually in the single digit percentage. Jürgen, I live in a rural place in Germany and admire you for this freedom and distance. A place to slow down. That is, You got it. You nailed it. A place to slow down. That's what Rachel is. All the hustle and bustle of the world is very far away. And, when I come up here, I slow down and I have time to do things that I don't get to do in the city. But then, of course, I get so busy doing videos that I can't say that I've ever been bored, but it is certainly a place to slow down. And life here in Rachel, sometimes we joke about things happening here in Rachel time. They promise us, they're going to run fast internet to town right now. Just to briefly touch on that, a rumor in town is that they're actually going to run fiber optics lines to every household here in Rachel for fast internet and to get it to get less susceptible to interference from radar jamming. When the planes do jamming, our internet always goes down. So hopefully when they run fiber optics lines, that will go away. But again, things here happen in Rachel time. So when they tell us, well, it's going to be another 2 months, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up going to be another 2 years. Who knows? But things do sometimes happen unexpectedly. So who knows? And by the way, this may be interesting for some of you. There's a large tungsten mine on the backside of Timberute Mountain that is actually the birthplace of Rachel. When the mine was open, the miners settled down here in the valley and founded what became Rachel. The mine was shut down in the 1980s, and actually there's been rumors about the mine reopening almost yearly, and none of that ever happened. But it does look like now there is strong efforts to reopen the mine. The mine, it's a tungsten mine. The only reason it shut down was because it was cheaper to import tungsten from China than to mine it locally. And of course, in the current geopolitical climate, it makes sense again to be self-reliant and to mine tungsten here. So there is a really good chance, I'd say a better than 50% chance that the mine will reopen. And that is going to have a huge impact on our town. Some of it I look forward to, some of it not so much, but we'll have to see what happens. And of course, I'm going to give you an update on that as I know more. Right now, is rumors floating around in town. There is some documentation that the people that bought the mine are doing some prospecting and that the samples are pretty promising. So there's a really good chance it will happen. Do Area 51 employees ever sneak into the little alien for a beer or some food? Or is it just wishful thinking? Well, if they do, they take off their badges before they come in. I have never seen someone with an Area 51 badge at the Little Alien. I have seen Air Force personnel at the Little Alien. When they do red flag exercises here in the area, they sometimes do search and rescue missions, and that means that some people have to be on the ground here that are basically support for the guy that is to be rescued during the red flag mission. So they sometimes stop at the Little Alien for snacks before they have to go out and get rescued. So you sometimes do see Air Force personnel there, but I've never seen anyone that I could verify as Air Force as Area 51 employee at the Little Alien. I'm sure they go. I mean, these people, they stay there all week. Sometimes they have to stay over the weekends, and they can check out vehicles for personal exploring to some degree, from what I understand. And they may come out to the Little Alien for an alien burger. Who knows? But they certainly wouldn't be wearing their badges. I used to live in Grafenwöhr, which is small town but noisy from the range. Isn't that where there's a large German Air Force base, I believe? So that's probably what you're referring to. And yeah, Rachel was actually a little girl. Yes, she was. Rachel Jones. Rachel is named after the town of Rachel. Rachel is named after the town of Rachel. Is named after the after Rachel Jones. She was the first girl to be born in the up and coming town of Rachel back in the 70s. The mine was booming. People were moving to Rachel. There was a little post office in town, and there was just a general sense of Rachel booming, Rachel becoming a town and putting on the map and all that good stuff. And the first baby in town, the first baby born in town was Rachel Jones. So the town elders and the town community at the time decided to rename the town that was called Sand Springs back then, to rename that town into Rachel. And that is why Rachel is called Rachel today. I love that little town. Yeah, I do too. That's why I'm here. Not a lot of people do, and it's probably a good thing. But for those that get Rachel, it's a great place to be. I can only, if you're all out there, if you haven't visited yet, come visit us. It is a great place, and all kinds of interesting stuff happening right over the hill from Rachel at Area 51. I don't want to get into all the projects there today. Maybe we'll do that another time. But there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening around here. And of course, you can go to the back gate 10 miles from Rachel, and you can see all the good stuff that's happening there. That's where the Storm Area 51 event happened. And it's definitely worth a visit. So there. Hey, do you still have your motorcycle, the one you posed with back in the day? Do you still ride? The one that I think is in the team section on Dreamland Resort, that was a really old, that was a motorcycle I had many, many years ago. That was a Kawasaki 1500, a Vulcan 1500. I don't have that anymore. I do have two motorcycles. I have a 2008 Heritage, Harley Davidson Heritage, and I have a 2015 Harley Davidson CVO Limited. That's the factory customized version of the Ultra Limited. Pretty much the biggest Harley that you can buy. Really heavy bike, good for great for long rides. Not so much maneuvering in the city, but like I said, I also have my Heritage. That's kind of my baby, my first Harley, all chromed out, and I certainly still have both of those sitting in the garage, waiting for me to come back to Vegas. And yeah, Linda and I like to go riding. In fact, that's how we met in Motorcycle Club, and the rest is history, as they say. And yes, we do like to go riding. So it is always great to get out there. We used to do a lot of riding in the summer with the club. We don't ride in the summer as much anymore. It's just too damn hot in this area. I mean, if you're riding in 115-degree heat, it's not, you might think that it cools you down. It's like you're riding into an oven. It's like you're riding into a hairdryer, a huge hairdryer pointed at you. It's unbelievable. It takes a lot out of you. So we try to ride in the off season when it's not really too hot. I just want to listen to our bell, buy a little patch of land in Nevada, and live a quiet, simple life under those big desert skies. Well, more power to you. I hope you get to do it. That's how it started for me. I came out here, I fell in love with the area, and before I knew it, I bought some land here. Now, buying land here in rural Nevada is cheap. Developing it is very, very expensive. When I look at what I invested in this property here in Rachel, aside from the size of the property, I could have probably built this house a lot cheaper in Las Vegas. It's just, everything has to be brought in. You have to hire crews to come out here to do the work, to put, build a garage for me and this and that. So developing your property here is very expensive, and even if you can even find the people that do it for you, that do the work for you. But do you shop for food at Alamo? Chad, yes. In Alamo is actually the nearest grocery store. We have a little gas station called the Alien Cowpoke here in Rachel, which we are very grateful for having. They have snacks, and mostly, snacks for tourists, cold drinks, ice cream, snacks, and so forth. The nearest grocery store is in Alamo. They have a variety of things. It's a small store, and they are, for a small town, they have a pretty good variety, but of course not as good as going to Las Vegas. So we do go to Alamo. That is about 50 miles one way, or we go to Tonopah. There's a bigger grocery store there, and there's a little more infrastructure. Like I said earlier, I'm about to upload a video for my German viewers about a little trip that Linda and I took to Tonopah to go gambling at the casino and buy some groceries, go to the Mexican restaurant. That video will be online on Wednesday. So we go to Alamo, 50 miles away, Tonopah, 110 miles away, or Las Vegas, 150 miles away. Or some people go to St. George, which is about the same distance as Vegas, 150 miles. Of course, we still have a house in Las Vegas, so I go back and forth sometimes, and Linda does too, of course. So, we bring food up as much as we can, and we also help each other here. When one of our group goes to town, we always text each other and say, hey, I'm going to Vegas, I'm going to Tonopah. Do you need anything? And if somebody in town needs anything, then we bring it. That's how it works here. We help each other out because it is a long way. Does Rachel have the sinking sand? Param had it. It breaks houses. Sinking sand. I'm not familiar with sinking sand in Param. That sounds awful. No, we don't have that problem here. The ground is pretty stable here. That sounds awful. I can imagine what you're talking about, and no, we don't have that here. And apparently the tunnels from Area 51 don't reach all the way to Rachel, so our ground is pretty solid and stable, and the only problem is it's dry, and it's once you get to if you do a excavation for foundation of a house or whatever, you need equipment to excavate it. Because up to a certain level, up to a certain depth, it really gets pretty hard. And this is all the valleys around here are basically formed the same way. You have a dry lake bed in the middle, and you have sediments that in prehistoric times, whatever, were washed down from the mountain ranges into what was then a lake. And the lake evaporated. So all the valleys in this area are former lake beds. And what we are building on here is basically the bottom of the lake. And it's pretty compact. It's pretty level here. So all the valleys are surrounded by mountain ranges. And in between the mountain ranges are valleys that used to be a lake bed at some point, back in the days when the dinosaurs roamed the earth and all that good stuff. What do I know? I'm not a historian on that kind of stuff, so don't quote me on that. The freezer in Rachel is Rachel's best friend. Yeah, well, absolutely. And Linda, that's Linda's department. When she comes up, she always brings lots of food, and the freezer is full, and we have food for several weeks. So. Good evening, everyone. Moin Jörg, Großherzog von Schnitzelhausen. Good evening. Man, it's early in Germany. You're up, either you're up very late or you're up very early. Either way, I'm glad you could join us. We're just I'm afraid we're just about to wrap things up here in a little bit, but glad you could join us. For those that joined late, I was giving an update on the fires here in the ranges, on the Gothic Fire in the NTTR in the restricted area. You can watch the replay of the stream for the update to look at the update if you joined later. The fire has consumed over 36,500 acres. That is more than 1/3 of the size of Las Vegas. So for all the other ugly details, replay the live stream, and I'm giving you hopefully a decent update. If you have any more questions, fire away. Otherwise, I'm probably going to wrap up the stream here in a minute. It gets to be about dinner time, and I'm going to give it a few minutes if there's any more questions. Good night, Steve. And 3:05, Großherzog von Schnitzelhausen, 3:05 in night shift over. Okay. Had Schützenfest. Oh, yeah, I remember Schützenfest. I actually used to work at Schützenfest, waiting on tables when I was young, when I was a teenager. I made some money doing that. Pretty good money, actually, working at the Schützenfest, running around with beer mugs and waiting on tables. Good times. Does anyone in Rachel actually get Wi-Fi, or is it pretty much just Verizon Cellular? No, there is actually a Wi-Fi, a town-wide Wi-Fi system here, DSL, basically DSL system through wireless connection. So if you want to get connected to it, they put a little dish on the side of your house, pointed to the phone building where the Wi-Fi transmitter is, and that's how you can get DSL service here in Rachel. It is very unreliable. Because it's not a fiber optic line, but it's a directed, basically a microwave link. It is very unreliable. Every time that they are jamming here in the ranges as part of the exercises, it goes down. They're promising us to lay fiber optics lines all over town. That may solve the problem, but I have a feeling that part of the problem is not necessarily the technology that they are using, and I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to talk bad about people. Pray for Rachel. Thank you very much. I appreciate that and appreciate everybody's concern with the fires and all that good stuff. I'm very late, and also greetings. Thank you very much. And yes, Starlink, we do use Starlink. Some of us in town use Starlink. At this point, it works a whole lot better. It's a whole lot faster. It's a whole lot more reliable, and it's a whole lot cheaper than the DSL system. So yes, people in town use it, and they're very happy with it from what I hear. So, okay, I think I don't want to go too long. I know it's getting late on the East Coast, and dinner is calling. So let me wrap it up with this. I'm going to do another live stream soon. I'll give you an update on the fire, and also check my Facebook page for updates on the fire. Check dreamlandresort.com for updates. I'll post updates here. And thanks all for giving me company, for your interest, for your concern for Rachel. It's smoky here, but so far we are alive and kicking, and I hope that doesn't change. So thanks for all your concerns. So far, I can say life is good here in Rachel. And with that, all a good night. Thanks again, and have a great rest of your day.